Um,
Ooh,
There you go. Nancy, you're
okay.
up.
Well, I'm Nancy Drew, and I'm really excited to be here tonight. I did not really prepare anything because, truthfully, if I start to prepare, then I really get nervous. So I just figured let it flow because that's what this is all about anyway. And when I let things flow, wonderful things happen. I've definitely learned that lesson, so I'm sticking to it. I would say my journey started in my early 20s, just a few years ago. And I started studying all kinds of things. Like I just somehow was like, I burst open. And I think it was, I grew up in a very traditional um, Irish Catholic, very devout upbringing. And it was a great foundation for me, but I was never able to talk about the things that I really was interested in. Like I used to look at the Sunday paper as a little kid and look at the horoscopes and stuff. I always had this like open mind for different things. Anyway, I finally, had moved out of the house and was getting my career going and stuff. And happened upon, it just seemed like everything started to open up. And I saw an interview, I believe probably on Oprah, with Shirley MacLaine. And if you all remember or were around then, Shirley MacLaine was really into past lives, and she had quite the journey and started meditating and traveling the world. And she was she talked a lot about past lives and stuff, and for some reason it just intrigued me. And then they also made a movie out of her life called Out on a Limb. So I don't remember if I saw the movie first or read the book first, but I got into it, and then I wanted everything Shirley MacLaine. I just so identified with her. It seemed like everything was just coming to me too, just for the asking. And I really didn't know how that was happening, but I was just like, oh my gosh, like I've opened up, like isn't this like amazing, and and I was working in a traditional office. I mean, I did accounting and tax for like 15 years, so I was always very busy with that. I manifested an amazing romance with somebody that I'm still very, very good friends with. And I do believe, and I still believe to this day, that that was absolutely a past life that we've lived before. I've seen that past life. I've been regressed. It was absolutely, I just can't say enough about it. But it doesn't mean that there weren't some challenges with that. But we, just, I excelled in every area of my life, it seemed like, manifesting everything. And so we worked together in the tax practice, and we had a lot of clients coming in. And when you are attracting, you are attractive to people, um, that they just feel and see your vibration. It's magic. I don't even know how to explain it, but I think you all know what I mean. And people would come in, and now I knew most of the same people in the same families because I was there for so many years. But people would come in, and sometimes I'd just have those amazing conversations with folks that, like, wow, like I knew them before, or this is like so strange. We were just on the same page. So one day in comes in one of my clients who was actually in a wheelchair, and we started to, chit chat and everything. And she would come right up to my desk because she's sitting down, of course, and she brings me Sedona magazine. And we started to chat about Sedona. I was like, oh my gosh, I've heard about Sedona. Oh my gosh, they have all these vortexes. I want to go there. And I'm getting chills right now. And so then so we talked, and then, she came back like a couple weeks later to get her, taxes back or whatever. And she said, I want to invite you to something. Have you ever heard of channeling? So I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because now in the meantime, I met Beloved, who's here tonight. And we were doing everything together and studying everything together at the Spiral Circle bookstore. And the Knowledge Shop was another place in town. And I mean, we were doing past life regressions, tarot cards, astrology, just all kinds of stuff. Other, what do we do? Breath work. I mean, we did, you name it, we were doing it. And so I was just open to everything. So Peg invites me to this channel, and I was like, sure, I'll do that. So I met, it was a condo down like way south of town from me, and it was a condo complex, and the place was jam-packed. I mean, everybody was like huddled in chairs. Some people were on the floor. Some of them were on the sofas in this condo clubhouse. And my friend Peg was there, and you know, I ended up like leaning. I sat on the floor, I think, next to her, and there was a woman, and it was Gwen, actually, who Karen knows, that had a little cassette player, and she's playing a cassette, and it was Abraham. And it was kind of strange because now we have all of this, you know, we have Abraham Nows and lives and the workshops and the whole 9 yards. But so that particular day, I remember it so well. Abraham had, it was a little bit different back then. They had subject matters and topics. Like the first thing was the law of attraction, of course, and you'd have kind of had to study that, and then the law of allowing, and then the law of deliberate creation, and that was it. There were 2 books. I don't even know if the second one had been written yet, but Peg told me, do not even read those books because like you already got this. And I was like, oh, you know, how do you know? Because I didn't know her that well. I mean, she was a client, but she just knew. So that particular day, it was probably about a 20-minute cassette tape, and they were discussing a switchboard. And when you're connected, when your vibration is high, it's like the universe sees it as lighting up on a switchboard. And other folks see you that way, you know. And when you hear people that have the light or light around them or an aura or, you know, whatever your name for it is, so somehow that really resonated with me. And then I ended up studying like everything Abraham. And I mean, within probably maybe a year, I was manifesting everything. I mean, everything was there for the asking. I really had this thing that I wanted to be written. I'm early 20s, 23, 24, 25, something like that. I want to have a BMW. I want to have this big house. I want to, you know, I'm creating my storybook life. So I really, really wanted this car, though. That was like the thing. And then the next thing you know, I would be driving down the road. I'm driving a little Toyota. It defies logic how I could afford this car because, you know, I'm not making the greatest money in accounting. And at that age, I wasn't as, you know, well, you know, versed as I am now. And, you know, so I would drive along, and then I would see a BMW pull up next to me. A BMW would be in front of me. You know, a BMW would be on the side of me. A client would pull right up to the front window of our office. It was a BMW. You know, it was just like I was seeing them everywhere. And I would talk to some of my friends, beloved, and, you know, other friends, and I'd be saying, man, this is so crazy. I keep seeing these BMWs. And they're like, yeah, because it's in your like vibration. It's coming. So, I mean, I would just get so excited. And I'd be like, oh my God, it's coming. It's coming. Like I just knew it was coming. Like youth is just beautiful, right? You don't second guess anything. And I mean, the next thing you know, I was saving and saving and saving. And I had talked to the, you know, the man of my life, and I was like, I really want a BMW. And he was like, you can't afford that. And then he was like, well, you know what? I kind of think that you'll just get whatever you want, you know. And he was always very supportive of me in anything that I did. And so the next thing you know, like I was saving and saving and saving. Then I got like a bonus for tax season. I got like a Christmas bonus. And sure enough, I started to look, and I found a affordable, nice, used BMW. And so then I was so proud, and then I went and I showed it to my mom and dad, and then my dad said that he was just so impressed that I had, you know, saved up all this money to get this car, that he gifted me like some money towards the car, and so that I could get like the highest insurance, you know, because he was like, you really need to protect that thing, and you know, so that was like the start of it. I wanted to live in a certain area, and I ended up, it was crazy because I was in this condo that I actually enjoyed and loved, but one day during tax season, I go to the front door and there's a notice that I'm being thrown out. Like the sheriff's office had put a 24-hour notice because the owner was not paying their mortgage payments. And I had no idea. And I never went out the front door. I always, went out in and out of the garage. So I was like, holy crap, what am I going to do? So I, called up a couple people. I was out of there in 24 hours, stayed in a hotel for a few days, stayed with friends. And anyway, I knew exactly where I wanted to live, but it was a gated condo community. And, but they don't really have rentals. And at the time I couldn't afford to buy anything. But anyway, they did have an office, and I called them up and I was like, hey, are you guys renting anything? And the woman says, oh, no, we don't really have very many renters. It's part of our homeowners association thing that, we have a very small percentage. But then she goes, wait a minute, hold on a second. She puts me on hold. She says, a realtor just walked in. He has a rental. Would you like to see it? So I was like, sure, I'll be right there. And it was like 10 minutes away. So I went, and then I ended up getting this just amazing condo that I loved. It's such a cute little cottage thing, and it was just so homey, and I just loved it. It had a great big backyard. It was affordable. It was walking distance to work. I mean, it was just fabulous. Then now in the meantime, I'm kind of accelerating here, but some years, and all of that kind of stuff was happening at the same time. But there were things with the relationship as far as it wasn't really my 100% manifestation, because he had young children. He did not want any more children. And because I was, young, I really thought that's what I wanted. And that was like always a thing. That, he's like, I will never get married again. I'm not going to have any more kids. So you really need to think about that. Like, I love you, but if that's what you want, that is not going to happen, and so it took me probably 2 years to break up with him, because I really loved him, but it was such a thing that I really thought that I wanted kids, so finally, we finally are breaking up. It was a matter of probably a few weeks or so. And so I decided I was going to take a vacation with with a girlfriend of mine. So I always wanted to go to Cancun. That was always on my list. So I called her, and she was going to come down because I had a break during tax season. And I said, so I'm setting this whole thing up for Cancun. I've got this because I've always been really good at travel arrangements and stuff, and finding great deals in the most phenomenal places. So, I'm setting this whole thing up. Plus she's Spanish speaking. So I was like, oh, this is just going to be perfect. I'm so excited. We have an oceanfront condo, blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking to the travel agent, and the travel agent says, why don't you go to Jamaica? She said, I just came back from Jamaica, and I had such a good time. And she said, I know you're going, because I've always established relationships with people and got to know people, and we had kind of working together, setting that trip up, we kind of got to know each other, and she knew that I was going through a breakup. And she said, I really think that Jamaica would just be so fabulous because, it'll just be a breakup. It's fun. Just let your hair down, have a good time. And why don't you go? And I was like, okay, but I really want to go to Cancun. And when I make up my mind, I really want what I want. But anyway, I was like, okay. So I called my friend because she lived in New York. I lived here in Orlando. I called up my friend, and she goes, let's do it. And I was like, really? I said, but I really want to go to Cancun, and you speak Spanish. And she goes, no. She goes, it really sounds fun. Let's just do it. So a couple weeks later, we fly to Jamaica, and I met who I thought was really the man of my dreams, my husband. We just met. we clicked. I'm on the beach. I'm reading now one of the spiritual books. I don't even remember which one it was. And it turned out he was reading the same book. And we're talking Abraham and all this stuff. And, you know, we just really clicked, except that he lived in Dallas and I lived in Orlando. So how's that going to work? But, you know, we'll see. So we started to commute, and I mean, everything was going really well and stuff. And we were kind of on this spiritual journey of, you know, different things. We liked the same things. We got along well. We both love to travel. I'm like creating this whole list of places that I want to travel. Within probably 3 months of meeting each other, we planned a trip to Maui together, which was a total dream come true. And he ended up getting like this phenomenal deal in Maui, like that defied logic, that we would get like this whole like 10-day trip for like $1,000 a piece or something, including airfare. I mean, now it was quite a while ago, but I mean, still, Maui's expensive as heck. So, so then it had been about 6 months that we were dating, and we were going back and forth every 2 weeks. I would go to Dallas, and then 2 weeks he'd come here to Orlando. So finally it got to that point of like, well, we need to do something. Somebody's got to move. So I set up this whole, I started interviewing. I was ready to make a change because I just had this breakup now, don't forget. And now I've got this new relationship, got my new condo, my car. I'm like, you know, I'm creating everything. so, so I decided that, you know, well, maybe, you know, he had a really good job. So I was like, okay, I'm open to moving. What the heck? So sure enough, I'm interviewing. I probably had 3 interviews and I've got a job as a assistant to a CEO of a pretty well-known company that y'all would know. And so that's it. I'm packing. I've got like 2 weeks to pack my place up and move. So I'm calling people up and saying goodbye. So I call up this one client of mine and I said, oh, you know, I met this guy and like, I'm going to move. I mean, in order to make this work or figure out if this thing is going to work, I'm going to move. So he goes, well, where does he live? And I said, Dallas. You know, what does he do? Oh, he's in sales. He goes, okay, have him call me. So I said, oh, okay. I didn't question it. So he calls him. Next thing you know, he sets up an interview for him. So he moves here. So yeah, it was, I see Karen's jaws dropping. And I mean, this is all happening, like, beloved can tell you, in like, what, not even a year, right? I mean, everything is just for the asking. So so he moves, and I ended up keeping my job, and that was great, and we had this great social life and stuff. And so then it was, you know, about a couple of years, and we decided that it would be maybe a good idea to get married because I wanted kids, and you know, he wanted kids, and you know, so okay, we're gonna do that. So that sounds like a good idea. So I'm then trying to decide where to go. And we had both made the decision we really didn't want like a whole big, huge wedding production, that, you know, we wanted to save our money because we wanted to buy a real nice home and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm kind of like planning, and I was kind of open to what to do, and talking to some very, very, very good friends of mine. And we, you know, we're trying to kind of figure out where to go. We decided we were going to run away somewhere and then have a big party, you know, by us, because the condo was on a lake and they had a really nice clubhouse and stuff that I could have a real nice party. So so he excuse me, so we were talking about then Carmel, California, because we love to travel and we like nice, glitzy, glamorous, beautiful places. But Carmel is one of the most expensive places on earth. It really is. And I was like, that, I don't see how that's going to happen, but whatever. So my friend says, well, try this place, and this place. There's like a church in the forest, which is like on the side of a mountain, and it's like a little forest thing. And then there was this other chapel that looked like really cute, but the date I picked was just a couple months later, and I mean, everything is totally booked and expensive, like out of sight. So, but everybody kept saying, man, if you want a really beautiful, amazing place to go, you should go to Highlands Inn, but it is really expensive. So I was like, okay. So I tell my friend, and he's like, oh yeah, Highlands Inn. Oh my God, that is like kick ass. Like that is like a fabulous place. So I come home from work the next day and I get on the phone and I talk to the wedding planner and she's like, you know, it's like $1 zillion to get married there. So so then we start kind of, I'm like, well, what about this date? What about this date? Well, that would be kind of a cheaper time, da da da. And then I come, and then she's looking on her calendar and I said, well, what about the Sunday? She goes, you know, since it's just you guys, and it was just us and like another couple that was going to stand up for us. She goes, since it's just you guys, you know, we could probably kind of piggyback you on after like somebody else. But, you know, and then that would be XYZ, however much. And I'm like, okay. So then we're checking dates, and of course everything's like really booked. They book 2 years in advance at least, 2 to 3 years in advance. And Brooke Shields and Andre Agassi were getting married also there. So, you know, I mean, it was like really kind of out of sight, but you know, I didn't hear no. I just didn't even like, I don't know. I just was like, what the heck? I just knew it was going to work out somehow. So I said, well, how about checking the Sunday? So she goes, she says, okay. And, you know, like you could almost hear her turn the page. I mean, you know, we're talking back in the 90s. So she probably turned the calendar page and she's like, I got to call you back. This is like the second time this has happened to me that somebody's got to call me back because they're like floored, right? And so she calls me back and she says, there's nothing on our calendar. She said, I have to call you back again because I still haven't verified why there's nothing on our calendar. I don't understand this. Like something's like really wrong. Like somebody really made a boo-boo here. So she gets with her boss and whatever. And it turned out that they were having a marathon that day and the entire city shuts down. So they had like nothing happening. They had another wedding, like they were doing the same thing like they did with us, like that they were like gonna let them jump in for like, you know, and use the facility for like 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. And then we got to go right behind them at sunset, overlooking the ocean in a gazebo that was decorated by the previous people, flowers galore over the whole place and everything. And I ended up getting it like videotape because we used video back then, right? The videographer was like $250. The photographer was like $250 because it was a quickie thing, you know, it was only probably an hour, hour and a half. I mean, everything, the whole 9 yards. I had the whole fairy tale wedding where Andre Agassi and Brooke Shields had just gotten married a few days before at the same facility at sunset, overlooking the Pacific Ocean in Carmel. I will never forget it in my life that the minister said that it was a slice of heaven. Like, and it really was. It was just amazing. So, and we ended up having like 10 days honeymoon there and everything, played golf on Pebble Beach. I mean, like we really blew it out the door for some things, you know, for ourselves. And, but still the whole thing, I think, cost that week of being in Carmel and all around the Pacific Coast Highway and all that. I think the whole thing cost like maybe $8,000 or something, which is really like not a whole lot for, you know, for that whole thing. Because I remember American Express called me up because I had never spent that much money before on my card. So, so that it was just phenomenal, phenomenal. So, let's see. So then, does anybody have any questions? Keep on rolling, huh? Oh, Kevin, do you? No, okay. So let's see, where do I go from here? So obviously Abraham and manifestation really work for me. And getting myself out of the way is what really works for me. Because when I start trying too hard, obsessing over things. Why is this not happening? Looking at what is instead of what I want. All bets are off, baby. It ain't happening. I mean, it'll happen, but it will happen when you least expect it later on when you've taken your attention off of it. And I've proved that to myself over and over and over again. So, I mean, life was really good. We manifested a lot of travel. That is one thing. I mean, we were together 13 years and we traveled all over the place. I mean, I went to Europe a couple times. We were on the Mediterranean. We went to, I saw a funny thing the other day on Van Gogh's, it was a Van Gogh little meme thing actually. I mean, we went to the place where Van Gogh was in his asylum. We went to wine country down in France. We went to Renoir's house. We stayed, you can absolutely, it is absolutely, it will definitely happen that you can manifest a castle or a button. I've proved it. We stayed in a castle on the side of a mountain in the Renoir, or excuse me, the Coteron Valley in France. I don't remember the exact thing. I mean, just amazing, 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 amazing stuff. Stayed in a castle also in Ireland that was just fabulous on Galway Bay, and that was another one of those places that was like $1,000 a night kind of thing, and I think we paid $150 a night or something. I mean, like the things that I manifested, like I said, when I got out of the way, it was important for me to ask questions though too, because a lot of times people, you know, they will kind of maybe shut you down or like, oh no, that's just impossible. And then I'd be like, you know, and I'm not like this in my career life, but you know, when it's something that I really want, I'll start asking questions like, are you sure about that? Did you check that date? Well, what about that time? You know, and the next thing you know, if it's meant to be, man, it'll happen. And you can feel it. You really can feel it. You know, I can feel it right now. I've got butterflies just telling the stories because it's like just, it's amazing. So we had lots of travel all over, went to Santa Fe, New Mexico. That's a place that I highly recommend. I love art. I'm an art appreciator. I cannot draw a stick figure, and that's okay. So I've been to Santa Fe. I've been to La Jolla, California. Love California. Santa Barbara. Any place that has lots of art galleries and stuff, I'm in. So if anybody has any ideas, I'm in. We've been to Asheville a couple times. We went to the Biltmore, of course. Manifested another, that was another like kind of a long weekend trip that was probably, I don't know, maybe $800 for the whole long weekend, and that included like you know, just an amazing hotel. We stayed at the Grove Park Inn one night, which you know, people that are from Asheville know. I mean, that's like a super expensive, luxurious, really luxurious place. Stayed at several like Ritz's and stuff, and I mean, beer pocketbook, champagne taste, you know, and it like just happened. It just, they all fell in my lap. It was just amazing. So the fairy tale finally came to a bit of an end. He liked to indulge in things that I didn't at the time, and then I started to, and then that was not good for me at all. It was very unhealthy, so it went in kind of a bad direction. He didn't, it turned out he didn't want children. So, you know, finally it was like, you know, my Abe was getting more on the back burner, but I still had this like, you know, all these wants and things in life. So, you know, I finally had to like just fish or cut bait, right? So, and that was really one of the best decisions I ever made. I mean, nothing, you know, against him. It just was not, I would not be sitting where I am today if I had stayed in that life, you know, because I always ended up, you know, I always go back to Abe because it's just, you know, that's where I am just at my best, at my happiest, at my most joyous. I mean, look around, look what's going on, right? In the world. Well, what world? I mean, I'm in my own world now and I feel fine. You know, I feel really good. let's see, what else, guys? Any questions? Or I think I need a breath and a glass of water here.
I'm trying to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
I have a question. Oh,
I can hear you.
okay. Am I going?
Sure.
You're going. Hi, Diedre.
Okay. All right. So I heard you say that you were reading your 8 books when you met your husband.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, I know nothing. I'm brand new. Where do I start? What book should I start with? I do believe in the law of attraction. You know, I know about The Secret, and I'm a member of CSL Asheville. I moved to Asheville 4 months ago, and I went through some very, well, how can I put it? Some experiences that kind of left me isolated from my family. I'm not going to go into details, but I do feel that that was good because it moved everybody out of the way so I could focus on me and what I need to do, you know. And so obviously I'm at the point where I feel that I need to be here. So where do I start?
Well, what I would recommend is obviously you found us. So you are a really good attractor already. You found us, you found this
Thank
group,
you.
and these are some amazing people. And
Yes.
that's just your vibration, you know, because you have opened up to attract in what you want. You know what you don't want. We figured that one out. And it's funny how when you know what you want and what you don't want starts to kind of vanish. I mean, you know, it just it falls away. Sometimes, well, it'll just like for me right now especially, people vanish out of my life, and that's okay because it's better for me. Because my inner being knows what I want. My recommendation personally is to keep connecting with this group and you know other Abraham sites. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of information out there. Listen, I mean, I absorbed myself. That was something I was taught early on to listen to Abraham, and there was not even a whole lot back then. But now, you know, there's YouTube videos all over the place. You can also, there's like a CD of the week or CD of the month club, I think, with Abraham Hicks publications. You can get on there. Probably the key book is Asking It Is Given. I mean, that's probably pretty much the manual, so to speak, for Abraham. To be honest with you, I started before that book was even written. And I still refer to it a lot because it's powerful. And I refresh myself on different things as I have clients now, you know, that I'm coaching through this process. And, you know, sometimes they have a process that intrigues them. And that's something that you might want to look into because there's different practices and even like games, like there's a prosperity game. I did that one many years ago with, you know, having a empty checkbook. And then each day you write, what is it, $1,000 a day, I think, and you keep, you know, adding it to your check register. And then you know, next thing you know, you've got like $300,000. What am I going to do with it? You know, and then it keeps multiplying as you go along. There's different things, and you would be amazed at how things start coming through. I went probably fast in my story because I get like really energized, and that's something maybe I need to learn to manage more. But I've never spoken before like this in this format. So, but that was something that I was doing also at the time when I was manifesting like the BMW and, you know, the, you know, big increase in income and different things that had happened.
Nancy?
Yes.
How could people get a hold of you if they wanted to know more about your coaching or just to have a conversation?
It's simply coachnancydrew.com. And I have a discovery session now that we can talk via Zoom, you know, one-on-one, and kind of see what your goals are and what, you know, what you're looking to accomplish. And it unfolds like it's amazing. Oops. So that would be the way to get a hold of me right now. let's see what else.
Oh, hey, Nancy,
Yes,
Suzanne here. Hey, I'm really enjoying your story.
thank
One
you.
of the one of the things I love when I meet younger, like you, so much manifesting when you were younger, and so innocently just, oh yeah, this. It's so easy for younger people to get excited and believe without having these old paradigms and old thought processes and all the programming that I grew up in, and I just think it's so fun that it came so beautifully fun and easy, and all these manifestation stories are just amazing. I'm just having a lot of fun listening to them, and now we're getting down to the nitty gritty though. You got a divorce, so now I'm eager to hear what else goes on.
Got a divorce,
Yeah,
which
we've
was the
been-
best thing. Which was the best thing that ever happened to me, really, because you know, like I said, nothing against him, but it really was. It became very contrasting, and you know, the contrast though showed me now what I do want, and I know now. And there were a few after that, boyfriends and stuff, you know, and. Now I know what I want, and I know that that will come. That is not what I'm actually currently working on, so to speak. But when I'm ready, I just know it'll come, like, and probably in very short order, that I will attract and meet the, you know, the person that I want. So, so I got a divorce, and we were living in a small town in northern, a little more northern Florida. My ex-husband was in the real estate business, and I was doing furniture and design. Real estate was amazing then. That was, we're talking like 08, 09, well, 07, 08 or so, I guess, is when it busted. But we really manifested, you know, actually, you know, some good increases in income and a real nice big house. And I furnished it, you know. Now, don't forget, I manifest things on a beer budget, right? So I had like a designer home with stuff that I'm getting at cost. So it was fabulous. But anyway, so we got divorced. My parents now at this point, my parents were always, we were kind of a threesome. You know, my parents were elderly. They were in their 40s when they had me. So at this point, they're, you know, getting in their 80s or in their 80s already. And my dad had some health issues. So, you know, there was a lot required to work with that, or to, you know, to go through all that. So I was actually working less and making more, which defies logic again, right? But I was able to spend more time with them because that's what I wanted to do. You know, my dad especially. And honestly, I swear that man was an Aber. I see it now all the time in retrospect. And he always used to talk about croaking. And he'd say, when I croak, and I was like, oh, Daddy, don't say that. You know, like, I mean, because, you know, I'm still kind of not as evolved, you know, and, but he did, and he'd say, no, it's okay. Like, you know, and then he would kind of talk to me a little bit about like eternal life, you know, was the way he would put it, because that's the way his religion, you know, was. But when you think about it, it's true. I mean, or I believe anyway. So it was kind of fun. And so anyway, he finally did pass away. And I had just like gotten divorced, and he passed away. And it was kind of a, you know, it was a difficult time for me, actually, because we had really gotten really pretty close. So then I moved back to Orlando area, and I got my mom in a fabulous place, and I was able to spend a lot of quality time with her, which I'm really glad that I did. And you know, just life. I mean, life is good. And then you know, when she passed away a few years ago, I started to go into kind of a funk again, you know, and I really didn't realize I was getting into that funk. But I, you know, just went back to Abe. Like something told me to, you know, get out your toolbox again and like go back to basics. And, you know, so I called up all my Aber friends here and started hanging out with them again. The dynamics of that group that we used to go to a group every single week, which before all this currently is happening. Like I was trying to start a group here because like that is, there are some big things I want to manifest right now. And I feel like a group manifesting together is just powerful. And we used to do that every week. In fact, we would go around, we had sometimes 50, 60 people at our meetings. We would just basically go into what was it that we wanted, and we'd go around the room and talk about it and get into a rampage of appreciation of what we wanted and why we wanted it. And the next thing you know, people are manifesting cars and money and boyfriends and, babies and, healthy, issues are getting cleared and everything. So that was my intent, but hey, I am loving the Zoom format. So I've been Zooming now the last couple of weeks and it's really taken off for me. So I believe that the power of the group definitely is an amazing dynamic, to start working together and co-creating that way, because we're all co-creators. I mean, we've manifested each other and didn't even know it. Like you just somehow click. When you meet somebody, you just click with them. And I was off Facebook for years. I kind of poo-pooed it. I didn't think, well, whatever I thought, it doesn't matter. I finally got on Facebook, and then I started to connect like with this group, and I was like, oh my gosh, and then learning to like laugh again. I had to go back to basics. I didn't think laughter was put you in the vortex. Like I really didn't. And then somebody told me to connect with Karen's group, and I was like, what? Because I'm seeing all these memes, and I was in not the best space at the moment, at that moment. And then the next thing you know, I'm like laughing and laughing and laughing. And you know what? Things started happening. I manifested another BMW last year. So, it's like crazy, and then that was just a funny thing. I was at work, and I was starting to really get very active again in my, manifestations and creations. And I was talking to this guy, and I was saying, he said something about, well, what's your dream? He was really into cars. He's like, well, what's your dream car? And I said, well, I used to have a BMW and I loved it. And, I know I'm going to get another one. And he's like, you know it? And I was like, well, I know I'm going to get another one, but I'm thinking this is going to be a few years away, right? So, so we just start talking, and then, how like just a little idea, and then you build on that little idea. And I walked away from it. Like that's the thing, when I get out of my own way, that's when the best things happen. If I start obsessing on not having it, and oh my God, and I can't afford that, and I'm not going to get it, and blah blah blah, and I don't have the life I used to have, which I had some of that. I had the self-pity stuff in there. Come on, I'm human. I went through a lot, for a few years there. I'm sure some of the ladies can identify with that. It was, anyway, when I got back to my basics, and so then a couple days later, he says, well, did you ever look? Because I said, well, I can't do that. I'll do that maybe in a couple of years, or, I'll get one. But I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when. Didn't think about it. Didn't put a time limit on it. So he says, well, have you looked? And I was like, no. So then he starts looking them up. He's getting online on his iPad at work. And he's like, well, it was kind of lunchtime, but he's like looking up, and he's going, look, you can get this one. Look, you can get this. And I was like, what? So then I was like, all right, I'll do that when I get home. And then I started to look at a couple sites, and I mean, within like a week, I traded my Kia and ended up getting a 2016 BMW for less than I was paying for my Kia, because my insurance was reduced by like $100 a month, because I guess it's a safer car and stuff. And next thing you know, I'm rolling up to Karen and Mark's house going, look at what I got. It was so nutty, because like I really hadn't planned it, I mean, I knew it would happen someday. So really, you can create a castle or button. I mean, it's just, put it out there. It's coming. And just believe and know it's coming, because it will. I know that with every fiber of my being. I'm going to be back at the Mediterranean Sea. I'm going to be traveling the world. I'm going to be sitting on the Champs-Elysees having a Zoom call with you guys. I mean, I just know it. I know it's going to happen. So today, I traveled around the world. So, Esther talks about a lot about daydreaming, lately, or they had been talking about daydreaming. And today I was playing with the little backgrounds here on my Zoom thing. I was on a call with some other folks, and I even posted a little thing in the Abraham Fun group, and I sent Beloved a video today, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I was in San Francisco. I was in a rainforest in Costa Rica. I'm in the universe now. I'm traveling the planet. And what was the other one? And on the ocean too. And it's really like and so I've been engaging with other guys on our group. They're like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Cause I'm like, well, where did you go today? And that's what we've got to get into, that mindset of letting it go. Just let it all go. Meditate, and sit and just daydream. I've been kind of tired lately. So, just sitting sometimes for a few minutes, and then the next thing you know, you're like kind of in that perfect manifestation time. And I'm trying to be in that zone and creating, but also not thinking, if that makes sense. So, I'm managing right now what's the level I need to get to. But it's just really fun. Last night I connected with a gal I haven't talked to in 3 or 4 years, and she lives in New Zealand. We talked for 3 hours via Zoom. I mean, it was just great. Other friend of mine just popped in. I was telling some folks earlier that I haven't talked to in like a good 10 years probably. And I had sent a message to their daughter a couple years ago, and all of a sudden she got the message, and we connected yesterday, and it was like we had just, seen each other last week. I mean, it was just amazing. And, so in my mind, I'm already traveling. I'm going everywhere. I'm making my plans.
Hey,
So,
Nancy,
yes.
it's Suzanne again. I say that because my name will never be up there. I'm not really Kevin. I'm Suzanne.
That's okay.
But for new people. So anyway, I had a question for you, because I have a friend that is 36 years old, a lady friend, and I've known her for a few years. I first got to know her when I was teaching her law of attraction, and she was in one of my groups, and then we just became friends, my training programs. But she really wants to have a child, but every man she's fallen in love with doesn't want to have one. And then when she thinks it might work out, thinking the man will change, which we know that's not going to happen, then she will kind of back off, and then now she's in another relationship. My question is, how much did your desire to have children affect where you're at now? Do you think that was a real true desire, or what do you feel like maybe that was just the universe giving you experiences you needed to have to evolve or something? I don't know.
It's funny that you asked that, because I was reflecting on that today again, as a matter of fact. And, I really, really, I had to get rigorously honest with a lot of things too. And I've done a little bit of therapy, because I had I had a lot of stuff going on between the marriage, and then, elder care is not always the easiest. And there was a sibling issue, so, I mean, I had to get very honest and very clear about some things. And I think, yeah, I think I just had to have all those experiences. I think that if I forced the issue, it probably would have been okay. I mean, it would have worked out the way it was supposed to work out. I do believe that, but I also prevented it all those years. That's a personal thing, but it's true. I did, because I just knew somehow in the back of my mind, I knew that this marriage was not going to be my forever destination. And I always knew, and then as things kind of, went along, I realized that, it really became clear that was not going to be, I didn't know how to get out of it, but I knew that having a child, I would always be tied to that person, which would have really kept me stuck in not a great place, or not the vortex that I wanted to be in. And, we just evolved differently, and that's okay. I do know, it's funny, I have 2 examples of the whole child thing. where I had a friend that was, you know, really, really, really trying hard. I mean, they tried hard for years. They were clients of mine in the tax business and she even worked for me for a couple of years. For like 3 years, man, they were trying, and one disappointment after another, after another, after another. And then it was that classic example of once they decided to adopt, next thing you know, boom, she's pregnant. Next year after that, boom, she has the next one. You know, like 2 kids in like 2 years. It was just amazing. And I was also really studying law of attraction. So that was like a big one for me to see that side of it. I also have another friend that I met several years later that had explained to me how much she really, 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 really wanted a baby and was like really, really, really forcing it. And I mean, looking for love in all the wrong places, and like she would do anything to have a child, and she was single, a single woman, and she ended up adopting, and her daughter is now like probably 30 something, but is severely bipolar and has some, like, so there's always been a lot of issues. So I don't believe in forcing anything anymore. I believe it worked out the way it worked out. It would have been very difficult at the time for me, having given so much attention to my parents, which I would never trade that. And I guess I was, you know, kind of a mom and daddy's girl. I didn't realize it at the time, but I mean, that was important to me. Family was extremely important to me. I know now, because I really see myself going, I mean, I've got rockets of desire going off all the time, and I really do see myself traveling and attracting a lot of things, and, you know, hopefully the forever man when the time is right. And I believe I will have family, you know, that they'll probably have family, and I'll end up having you know, my own like steps and stuff. I have great family now. I have like amazing friends that I'm super, super close to that I really kind of couldn't live without, you know. I think the kid thing would have just gotten in the way, you know, for me. I think you gotta get clear on that.
Hey, Nancy.
Yes.
So was it like after you were starting to help your parents, maybe you never really had that awareness, like, well, maybe children weren't meant for me. I'm just curious. I'm just thinking about my friend. I don't know if she needs to just, if I could help her, but of course let it go. Well, that's easy to say, but when you really want to have a child,
right,
and you haven't found the right man, and your clock is ticking, as society puts into our heads, it gets in the way of really what you want, actually, to have the baby.
Yeah, and it kind of did for a while. But I think my desire to not be in that marriage was much stronger than my desire to have a child, because I would have done it then. You know, I wouldn't have presented it. That probably doesn't really prevented it. Excuse me. That probably doesn't really answer the question. That is a tough one, especially when you have that age clock thing going. I think my desire probably wasn't that strong. I think I definitely would have had children if I had stayed with the first one. We're still like really super, super, super good friends. But I would never see that happening. Like, I don't go backwards. There's some other things that I don't go backwards. You know, we still love each other. We're really good friends. We talk every couple of months or so and catch up on things. But, you know, his life's gone in his direction and mine's going in mine. So
I can share a really quick story about my daughter-in-law and my son. And this is the one story I shared with my friend, because she's 36, but my son and daughter-in-law wanted to have a baby from the time they got married. They both loved children, and they were married about 6-7 years, and they kept trying, and finally in the last year and a half, they started to take their retirement money and do in vitro. So they did in vitro twice, and she miscarried twice, and they were getting down to having just 3 embryos left, and their money was, you know, the money they were willing to spend was really getting low, and so my daughter-in-law said, you know, I don't think we should do it. There's only 3 left, and it's not worked, and she's having miscarriages, and maybe we should just stop. And my son said, and I love this, even though he's not into law of attraction, that deeply, but he listens. He does listen. And he said to her, you know, we put this money aside in a college fund because we wanted to have children. But what point is the college fund if we don't have any children? Why don't we just take the college fund and just try this one last time? So in January of this, when they made this decision, they had the 3 embryos put in and she got pregnant. And that's our little granddaughter, Olivia, that you see up on Facebook.
Oh, wow. And
That's
she's
such a joy.
beautiful. She's
So
gorgeous.
when my daughter-in-law let it go, she said, okay, that makes sense because logical. What do we need a college fund for if we're not going to have kids? So she could let it go. You see, it's just a perception of everything that allows us to either get what we want or not get what we want.
And you know, you read my mind because I was going to say that too. It's all how we perceive things, because I also, like, it's not that I never had children in my life. You know, like my sister had a baby, and I was extremely close to my nephew. You know, in fact, people used to think that he was mine. You know, and I've babies, and once after my mom passed away, I was kind of I'd taken a lot of time off from work to be with her. And then I started to do some caregiving stuff just to have the time available to be with her. So I had like my Friday kids. Karen knows about my Friday kids. And so I've always had children in and out of my life. I was a director at the Y for 3 years too. So, I mean, like I had a lot of kids around. So I got at least the fulfillment and enrichment of that. You know, holidays I thought would be very hard for me. Once in a while, I mean, I've had a couple of years where maybe it wasn't so hot, but you know, I just know that it will be there. Like I really know that I'm going to have the Home Alone Christmas with some kids, you know, in a few years. So, you know, I guess my desire wasn't that strong at the time, you know, and it also could have been a control thing with me, with the other guy. You know what I mean? Like I'm honest with that too. Like I said, I had to get very clear and honest about some things, and maybe I didn't have the greatest of motives at the time. You know, I was young and I was trying to force the whole thing with him, you know, and I mean, not that way. I would never have trapped him. That was not what I meant. But, you know, I think if I had, I just think that we would have had great kids, you know, and we would have been great parents, but that wasn't what was meant to be. So I'm cool with that.
Let's see one more time if you guys can hear me, or am I
Yes.
being heard? Oh, good.
Yes.
Technical issues. Hey, I have a question. Nancy,
Sure.
I think I was muted when I told you before. You're the second Nancy Drew that I know. I worked for a woman named Nancy Drew.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So, you know, that comes with a lot of attention when you introduce yourself. I'm sure people make the reference.
It does.
Yeah. No, something that resonated that you spoke about was always coming back to Abe. And I'm never away from Abe. Abe is always there. And I wanted to tell the lady what's the next thing to do. Start just going on YouTube and just say, Abe, let me find the clip that I need right now. Push a button and listen to it, because there's always so many gems inside each one. But as a person that's always with Abe, I know there are times when I have to come back to Abe. I thought I was with Abe, but then contrast always brings us back to Abe. So I'm looking for a perspective that, you know, when I feel like, okay, I need to get back to Abe, that time that I spent, did you feel yourself maybe ramping up for the next thing? Is that what maybe that was, that time away from Abe? Was it almost like revving your engines a little bit so that when you came back to Abe, boom, it happened faster and stronger?
I think so. I do think so. I really
Yeah.
do. Because I knew I needed to come back to Abe, and I would say, okay, I'm going to listen to Abe tonight, or I'm going to reread, you know, Asking as Given. I like took the book out, but I didn't do anything for a few weeks, you know. I mean, like it was, but because I know that it works.
Yeah,
Because
I know.
I've proven it to myself over and over and over and over again. You don't
Yeah.
need to prove to me, you know, I mean, nobody needs to talk me into it. I'm sold.
Yeah.
You know, there is nothing more important than that I feel good. And especially that contrast, I mean, it was beautiful, because it really, really, really solidified in me and my whole entire being that there is nothing more important than that I feel good. And I feel good every single day now. I really do. I mean, and if I have a moment of, you know, like a couple days, or I think it was yesterday, I really didn't sleep well the night before. And I know that that's always like not a good thing for me. And I kind of felt a little ooshy and, you know, like just not, you know, and I kind of listened to some news, which I never should have done. I tell everybody not to, you know, and I was kind of in this little funky thing. And then I just, you know, I took a nap. You know, you go back to basics, man. Take a nap, go to sleep, stop thought.
Yeah.
And I got up and I was, and then actually I had I get the Abraham Now because they had to cancel one of the workshops here. So it was perfect timing. I woke up and, you know, sat down and listened. That was it. I was out of my funk. So, you know, today I didn't plan anything, obviously, because I just knew it would work out however it's supposed to.
It's working out great. You light up. I love listening to your stories. And when you smile, oh my God, your smile is just like beaming. And you have the universe behind you. It's perfect framework for your beautiful smile.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice talking with you.
Oh, good talking with you. So, Nancy Drew, you know, I tell my clients it's Nancy Drew helping you solve the mysteries of life or the mysteries of your life, you know.
So, what are you up to now then?
What am I up to now?
Yeah.
You mean
Coach Nancy Drew?
Coach Nancy Drew. CoachNancyDrew.com, working, you know, just attracting, and they'll come to me, you know, and that's what's happening. It's just I got a message out of nowhere, and then I also got a message from a friend of a friend that, you know, like out of nowhere. So
Well, how do you help clients?
Pardon me?
How do you help your clients?
By connecting with them. And I just, you know what, it's funny, like my first client, for instance, her life was exactly the same as mine. It was like we had parallel lives. She was similar age. She was going through a terrible breakup. She is taking care of her dad with dementia. You know, I mean, just like everything is like carbon copy. It's just amazing. And then it was funny because I talked to her yesterday, in fact, and or the day before maybe. I don't know. We're on this roll of days. But anyway, she had asked me a specific question, and I wasn't sure. I mean, I knew the answer, but I wasn't sure exactly how to kind of like phrase it, you know, and I started to sit down with my notebook and, you know, kind of make some notes. But I don't like to do a whole preconceived thing either, because, you know, it just runs with itself. Like it just takes a life of its own on, you know, when you connect with people, you know, it's vibratory. I mean, we just get on the screen and it's vibration like takes over. Half the time I don't even remember what the heck I was saying, you know. So, but anyway, I talked to her, and I was going for a walk by the lake by my house, and I always pop on a YouTube, and I've gotten into, like, I just randomly pop one on. I don't plan that anymore either. You know, I used to kind of try to look up subjects and things. You know, whenever you try to control anything, you better forget it. I mean, because it ain't gonna happen, or you're not gonna hear it. So I just popped it on, and it was exactly the answer. So I, sure enough, like, you know, sent her the link, and she was like, yeah, exactly. That was exactly like what we were talking about. And like she said, I didn't know how to articulate it to you, and, you know, but you knew the answer. And I was like, no, I didn't know the answer. I mean, really, the universe has, you know, your inner being had the answer. I just connected with it. So that's kind of how it works. It's very intuitive, really. Very intuitive. So throughout my younger journey, I actually was doing, Beloved and I studied a whole lot of psychic stuff, and I've done readings and things. I don't do it as much anymore, but I may even start venturing into that, because I have a pretty good sense of connecting with people, especially one-on-one. It's just really, it's my thing. So what else? Let me see if I made any notes. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. I really, truly believe in this journey, and I've been through a lot of contrasts, some really not fun contrasts. Absolutely. The contrast is there to show you, you know, sometimes it has to be so blatant to get your attention that you get hit on the head. Like you hear some of some of the videos, like a bird hit the windshield or something like that. And actually it was when I was toying with this whole idea of going into coaching full time. I had this brilliant idea last year, end of last year, kind of to go back to corporate work. Oh, you know, I'm getting older. I need, you know, the benefits and the blah, 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 steady paycheck, all that. Because I've been self-employed in other ventures for several years. So, you know, I manifested the job right away and everything. And as soon as I got there, I was like, holy crap, what the heck? I just knew I didn't fit with these people, you know, but I was like trying to make it work and trying to make it work and trying to make it work. And I mean, it was like, it was just exhausting. It was just flat out exhausting. And I kept having, you know, friends saying, well, why aren't you doing your coaching? And I do coaching in a 12-step group also that I'm involved in. I've been doing that for like 5-6 years. Anyway, 7 years actually, where they have like a thing called like sponsorship, and where I sponsor other people. And, you know, we go through the nitty gritty and the deep subjects, all the secrets that you don't want to, you know, talk about. And one of their monikers is like, your secrets keep you sick. And that's absolutely the truth, you know. Like I'm on Zoom, like, you know, I don't know what my hair looks like. I don't have my makeup done. Like, who cares? Like, and I was always so into that. And now I'm like, whatever, you know, it's vibratory. It's just, it's not about that. It's just the dynamics of, you know, being here. It's just, it's powerful. I mean, I'm getting chills again. So anyway, so I was like, you know, maybe I should, you know, should try and do that. And so I finally decided to just get rid of the job, you know, and I have not looked back like at all whatsoever. And then the next thing you know, I get, you know, a couple messages here and there, and like I'm just clicking with people, and it's just happening. You know, it's just really, thank goodness, you know, it's working for me. So, and I can really see, you know, the benefit it is to the planet. And I just think that, you know, it can only get better. I mean, that's how I believe. It can only get better. And it is all vibrational. That I have not a doubt, you know, anymore in my mind about that. Everything always works out. Like things just, everything works out. I mean, and the other day, right, I'm looking for hand sanitizer. I was like, oh shoot, you know, I don't have any hand sanitizer. And like about 20 minutes later, I was like cleaning out something, and boom, there's a whole bottle of hand sanitizer that I forgot that I had. You know, I was at the grocery store, and I was telling them, I think last week, I was at the grocery store, and people were starting to panic. This is actually a couple of weeks ago. People were starting to panic about, you know, toilet paper and supplies and whatever. So I ran to the grocery store, and I was like, oh shoot, I wonder if I need water. Because then somebody's saying, oh, we need water, you know, like a hurricane or something. You know, we're used to that. So I go, of course, the water aisle is like cleaned out. And I just was like, okay, you know, who cares? You know, I've got running water, you know, I'll find water. And then the next, like a few hours later, I was passing by another grocery store, and I decided, well, let me go check it out. And so I walk up to the guy, and I'm like, do you guys have water by any chance? I was standing right in front of this whole like cart full of water. Like, I mean, things are just popping up. You know, because I'm just completely open, and that's what I ask for, you know, pretty much on a daily basis. Just give me what I need, what I'm, you know, looking for. I mean, you know, and that job, it was like just so amazing. Like the contrast was just so blatant, and that's what I got off the track. So
How long did you stay at that job, if you don't mind my asking? Where you just
oh,
said
it
you
was
just
like
didn't
4 months, just like
Yeah.
4 months. I was like, yeah. So anyway, so I was getting messages saying like, and people, so I'm talking to like Beloved, for instance, right? Because we kind of talk about everything, right? We've been through it all. And she's like, but you need to be doing this, like you should be doing this. And well, next thing you know, my smoke detector went off. I'm in bed. It's like 12:30 or something, you know, like midnight, 12:30. And all of a sudden my smoke alarm's going off, and I'm like, oh my God, right? Because I was just laying there, and I was kind of starting to drift off, and I was thinking about this coaching thing, and boom, the smoke detector goes off. So then I realized it was telling me, because I'm pondering this decision if I should quit the job or do this. And there goes the smoke detector. So now I'm ticked. I can't reach the thing, right? I'm not that tall. So, and I don't have a ladder. So I'm like, I go in my pantry and I grab a broom and I just bang the thing. I like knocked it off the wall. So then so now I'm still at the job, and then like 2 weeks later, the other smoke detector goes off in the other bedroom. I swear. And then Karen posts this thing about calibration.
Did you hear that story?
Remember that one about the smoke detector and the calibration? Karen, you probably don't even remember, but because I mean we post so much stuff on there. But it was like the ton of bricks hit me. Fortunately, not in the head, but I got the message. Like, so we're attracting all the time, whether we think so or not. It's coming. So
one of the things I've always admired about you, Nancy, is that you're very aware of those things. They don't go by you. Like you catch them and then you make a decision. And you're, as Eileen said, you're so bright and shiny so often that it's like there's no question that things are going to continue just flooding in the right direction for you. You get a lot of people to help, is what I think.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, I know one time when I was first starting to learn like energy and all this is like many, many years ago. I was mad at somebody at work. This was back in my CPA days, like 20 years ago. And I was really angry about something. And I was laying in my bedroom, and it was afternoon, actually. I'd left the office because I was just so ticked off. And I was thinking, like, I need to take a nap or I need to do something, but I was so fired up, so to speak. Next thing I know, and it was hot out too, because we get like 90, 100-degree days sometimes, right? The power goes out. So now it's hot. My oven broke that week. There was something, and the AC went out in my car. This was all like in like 3 days, all this stuff to give me to like the nudge to pay attention to this situation that I was angry about, but not addressing, So, I mean, we are attracting no matter what. And let me tell you, I attracted some things that I'm glad they're out of my life now.
And you're moving forward, but you're doing what you love now. Right?
Absolutely. Really, it's just my days are going by so fast. I mean, sometimes I feel like I can't even keep up with, just everything, trying to, keep connected with everybody I need to connect with, and I'm learning some new programs and different things. So yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting time.
What are some fun things you're working on, or are you looking forward to do?
For me personally, what I want to create, you mean, or
Whatever comes to mind.
Yep. Well, I love to travel. I mean, I've got a whole list going on in my mind about that. I want to travel. I want to get a new place to live, hopefully later this year. I really think that's on deck, actually. I haven't looked yet, but, well, I've kind of, daydream shopped, but I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. But I also realized that it may not be in Orlando. There's not really any reason for me to be here anymore now that my parents are gone. So I really could be anywhere, and with my business, I can be anywhere. So, I mean, my best friends are not all here, and now we can Zoom it, and hopefully I'll be getting back on the road again and flying to different places. So, that's kind of what's in my vortex. And then I imagine I'll be meeting a gentleman friend, I hope, when the time is right. I mean, that's not top of mind, but I know it'll happen. So it'll manifest just like everything else, when I say, oh, well, whatever, I'm good. I found my great house, or whatever. And then the next thing you know, he'll show up. So sometimes how it happens. Oh, somebody's sending
I
me.
do have a question for you, Nancy.
You do?
Yes, I do. I was wondering, when you said how you get out of your own way, it struck a chord with me. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on that, if you had any specific strategies or any sort of mindset that really worked for you. I'd be happy to hear it.
Okay, so when I was kind of not in my best, I was talking to a real good old time Abe friend, and I was like, man, I don't know, like I'm not feeling so energized like usual, and that's just not usually me. I'm usually pretty animated. And she said, you're trying too hard, and I was like, well, what the heck does that mean, and she was like, well, you like everything, you're all or nothing, and you're trying too hard. She said, you need to really just start relaxing more. Self-care. We're hearing a lot about self-care lately, just relaxing. If it is the reading a good book, or her suggestion was like, what kind of TV shows do you watch? And I was like, well, I don't really, watch that much TV, but, I like The Good Doctor pretty good. And I know Karen and Mark are fans, I believe. And so she said, she goes, yeah, I love that show. She said, well, let's watch it. Let's go watch it tomorrow night. I think this was like a Sunday or whatever. And that's usually on Monday night. And I'm thinking, well, that's weird, because I know that she doesn't leave the house after like 8 o'clock at night or something. Good Doctor's on at 10. So I said, well, how's that going to work? And she goes, when The Good Doctor is on, just know that I'll be there, and just get into the story. Like, just place yourself in the story. And it's kind of almost like a meditation technique in a way, to just really stop thought, watch the movie, watch the program, get into it, be there, be with the characters, be at the hospital, or be, and somehow that worked for me. And, it just totally, like, the stopping thought, the meditation. I'm not the best always at having a daily practice at the same time, which I think is very important. I'm trying to get into a routine, but it's just really letting go, whatever that means for you. Drop the oars, stop thinking and obsessing about whatever the thing is that you're working on. Go, and also it can be just changing the dynamic, like just getting up and taking a walk, or taking a nap, or take your attention off of whatever as soon as you hear the thought. In fact, Karen has a tool for that, that when you have a thought that's not maybe the most pleasant or whatever, if Karen, you can elaborate on that. Just, it's like a thing that you tap yourself to remind yourself that that's not where I want to go, and then get on the track that you want to go. Sit down and write, make up a story, or write down the, gratitude lists are great too. If I'm really in a, can't come up with anything, think of 3 things you're grateful for. Start there. 5 is better, 10 is better. But, the next thing you know, you'll get on your own little rampage of appreciation. And then whatever you're angry about or focused on that's not the most pleasant, it'll drift away.
Hey, Nancy.
At least that's how it works for me. Yes, ma'am.
I just had another thing about how when people are, it's a story that Jerry used to tell. When you catch yourself in a negative thought process, or one that isn't serving you, he used to tell the story. It's about like when he would, if you wear this, you're all sitting around a campfire, and he's wearing this wool sweater, and then an ember hits his sweater. What do? Sit there and keep looking at it and talking about it? No, you flick it off. So I think he was suggesting, it's been a long time since I heard that story, just flick that little thought away. Like, that's an ember that you don't want to keep focusing on. Otherwise, it's going to turn into a big fire and really not be a good thing for you. So just thought I'd share that. It just came to me when you were telling other ways to.
I just heard that too, Suzanne. That came up on a clip I'd heard recently. So it's also about like stopping the momentum early on, like the San Francisco analogy. If you have a car at the top of the hill, it's easier to stop it just before it gains any momentum than down at the bottom of the hill. Yeah.
Getting out ahead of it.
Getting out ahead.
Getting out ahead of it. And, you know, there's also, I've studied all kind of things over the years, and there's also like a spiritualist technique that you, well, sometimes they even will do like fire burning things to get rid of like certain things. But I just have like a very simple thing where if I'm really like, you know, can't get my thought and really trying to let go of something, I will go right out to my porch and just, you know, say, this is not what I want, so I'm giving it to you to handle it. Whoever who is, you know, is to you, your higher power, God, whoever, whatever, you know, and I just will go, okay, it's yours because I can't do this now. And let it go. Don't take it back. Don't take it back. Let it go.
One of the things Kevin and I have found too that we first did when we first started falling in love, this was before he asked me to marry him, but we went to this thing at a Unity church, and it was on New Year's Eve. So they did this burning bowl thing where we all were to write down all the things we didn't like and didn't ever want to see again happen in our life. And then we put it all in this bowl and they burned it. So what we found is when we were working with people, in group settings, we'd have them go through this technique of writing down everything that you don't want to ever see again, that you don't like in your life. And then they crumple it up and they throw it in this basket in the center of the room. And then we take it out to the patio and burn it on the grill. But it's effective. They've had such, like one woman thought like the weight of the world was lifted off her shoulders. So, you know, depending on what the person is like, there's all different kinds of ways to help yourself let go of those habits of negative thoughts because they're not serving you. And to watch them go up in fire was just effective for some people.
Mm-hmm. I've done the same thing actually on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, I guess it was, at Unity. I love Unity. They have some great, you know, techniques and thoughts, and you know that's another thing too. Unity and the Church of Religious Science, which is now the Center for Spiritual Living, which is Louise Hay was actually a practitioner for. I studied a lot of Louise Hay over the years. I totally believe in her work. I know that any kind of health issues and whatever, and I look it up and man, it is absolutely right on. You know, we create these things, these blocks, and sometimes, you know, it'll manifest itself in different ways. I had a backache a few weeks ago and it was a money issue. You know, I was concerned about income and, you know, should I do this and all that. So, yep, amazing how all that works. Knee pain, changing directions.
Jensen. You asked a question. Is that you had a lot of really cool answers? Does that sound like you got what you needed, or
yes,
is there a follow up?
No follow up. Everything sounded wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome, great. That was an awesome question. I love that question. It generated a lot of really good stuff for me too. So thank you very much.
Yeah. What I might just add, what I don't know if Nancy was referring to this, but what I do, just one technique is I try to be so proactive with positive thoughts that the negative thoughts show up less. And so this is my happy thought counter, and I wear it like all the time, except when I go night-night. And so what I do is throughout the day, I just deliberately, it reminds me, because it's on my wrist, it reminds me to deliberately think happy thoughts. Just pause for a few moments and think gratitude thoughts, you know, appreciation thoughts, or just what do I want? What do I like? And back and forth, and affirmations. And then I have a score, it keeps track. And then at the end of the day, I have a number on there and I write it down on my calendar. So every day, well, how many do I have today? I have 649. And so one day I had 900. I was really working it. Some days I have 200. But anyway, the number isn't so important. But for me, this really helps me keep the positive momentum going, just like we were talking about the momentum going, you know, you just, so it makes it a little trickier for that negativity to worm itself in. I mean, it still does, and what the heck. But anyway, this is the thing that I have found that helps me so much. Just keep consistent. So this is my happy thought counter, and I just wanted to mention that.
And as a person who lives with Karen about 24 hours a day, I have to attest, it works. And hoping at least out of the 600 today, I might be part of at least one of those.
At least, maybe 1.5, I betcha.
A good day.
Where do you get a counter like that? What is that?
You're
So
selling
it's a,
them, aren't you, Karen?
I am selling them. Funny, you should mention. I'm not trying to do a commercial or anything, but yeah, I worked for years to develop something. I've had different devices, like inventory devices that you wear around your neck, and so this is the latest permutation of this idea, and it's on. I have them on eBay, and I have them on Amazon. And it would just be under Happy Thought Counter. And it's also on my website at KarenMoneyWilliams.com. And I'll tell you what, I'll make sure that we have, I'll put up the links here, here in our chat, so it will be accessible. Or maybe I'll put them, I'll tell you what, I'll put them on Abraham Fun tomorrow. Are you active on Abraham Fun, Susan? Or you know what I'm talking about
anymore. So, but I can go there. I can look it up.
Okay, I'll make sure that I put that there for future reference, and so then you'll hopefully see it. I'll put it tomorrow. What I'll do is I always pin this video at the top of the Abraham Fun page, and so then underneath that in the comments I will put some links to this here little contraption.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
I think it's really important to like recognize the signs, you know. Sometimes I will ask for signs because maybe I have a moment of like, oh my gosh, is this really going to happen, kind of a thing. And the signs can be just little things like, but they're repeat signs. Okay, so for instance, one day I was on Abe Fun and somebody had posted, Karen, I know you'll remember this. Somebody had posted something, I don't remember what it was, and someone else posted this little GIF, and it was Lucille Ball, I love Lucy, eating spaghetti. And then Ethel pulls out this scissor and like cuts the spaghetti. And I mean, it was just hysterical that I was like hysterical laughing, like, I don't know why, just out of nowhere. And then it was like maybe 30 minutes later, somebody else posts a thing with somebody else, you know, eating spaghetti. And then, you know, maybe the next day I saw something about eating spaghetti. And then my friend, that's right, my friend Vito, good Irish name, Vito, my friend that I grew up with, he sends me a message, and then he's telling me that he made this unbelievable spaghetti for lunch for he and his grandkids, right? And he's sending me pictures, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I go to the grocery store like a couple days later, and a thing of SpaghettiOs falls off the shelf. You know, and I had to like think of, and it was something that I was kind of working on at the time. And these were, I believe, these were just little tiny messages to tell me you're on the right track. It's okay. This is going to work out for you, you know, because everything always works out. I mean, it always works out. The law of attraction is always happening, you know, and everything works out, whether it's the way you want it to or not. It will work out when you're open to it. So,
you know,
and I'm sticking to it.
a little comment. Kevin complimented you, Nancy, and he's so right. I mean, Karen and I, we know you. You've been in our house and our meetings and things, and it's who you are, who you're representing right now. But Kevin talked about the fact that you see these things. Things happen and you see them, you recognize them, and a lot of people don't. You just don't see those things, and that they're something that means something to something. But and Nancy, you one thing that you have some basic things like what you just emphasized, things always work out for me. So one of the very cool things, one of the most important for me things about Abraham, and there's a few things like that that are basic. Things always work out for me. So that makes it easier to see when things happen and they don't seem like that's quite fits into that. You don't sway away from that knowing, that absolute knowing that things always work out for me. So if you can solidify something like that in your beingness, if you have to say affirmations, whatever it is that increases your awareness that things always work out for me, however you can do that, when you have that as strongly as Nancy does, and she has some other ones too that are awesome, that serve her well, then when things happen that don't seem to fit, it doesn't weaken that knowing that things work out for me. You just know, okay, I'm just gonna look around somewhere, I'm gonna see where this fits, that everything works out for me. So I wanted to just compliment you on that and share that to everybody. And you can feel that, can't you? Can't you just kind of feel in Nancy's stories that she has this, it's not something she has to think really hard about. She has this knowing that things always work out for me. Is that, you can feel that. So that's a gift, Nancy, that you give to people when you talk to them. So thank you very much. And I want to make sure that people recognize that fact. And what is it? Diedre? That may be a part of when you asked about things to do, and that would be one of those things. Look for a couple of things that really could you can solidify into like that, and then fit everything that happens around you into those things. So.
I believe.
Well,
Go
and
ahead.
basic 101 Abe is that there is nothing more important than that I feel good.
That one.
And when
yeah.
I am with someone that doesn't feel good, which happens much less and less than ever, but when I was around certain people in my life, like my desire to feel good far outweighs my desire to be in that whatever situation. So when I was trying to force things, of course, things wouldn't work out so well. But yeah, when you just know it's going to work out, and I just want to feel good. And even if that day you just have to focus on feeling good and just saying, I want to feel good. I just want to feel good, because there's nothing more important than that I feel good. And, the better it gets, because the better it gets, the better it does get. I mean, I just have seen it. I know it. I feel it. I taste it, touch it, I'm tuned in, tapped in, turned on. It's just, I just know it.
Woohoo! I have another compliment for you. What I'm hearing this whole time is, no matter what difficulties, and we've all had contrast, and you said you've had them too. I see you always choosing to feel good, despite whatever else has gone on, or despite the fact he doesn't want to have kids, or whatever it is. You find a way to feel good, so you keep manifesting the things that make you feel good. And so what I love about all that is that you're in love with your now story of feeling good more than any past story.
Absolutely.
Oh.
I suppose maybe things could be better in certain ways, but you know what? At this moment, I feel good, and that's the most important thing, because then that's what creates the momentum. So it's like every day is exciting now. Really, every day is just more and more and more exciting. It's, who am I going to connect with today? What am I going to do today? I've been told to stop clocks and all of that kind of stuff, which is not always the best thing to do, but it's true. Just be in the now, be in the moment. Think about what you want. That's the when you're just trying to figure something out, don't try to figure it out. Just think of, well, what do I want? Where do I want to go? I'm making this list because I know it'll happen. Somehow it'll happen. I don't know the when, I don't know the how, I don't know the why. I kind of was, I house sit sometimes too. And how I manifested that is beyond it. I don't know. I just, was thinking about, and I used to drive around this one neighborhood that's like all these like multi-million-dollar beautiful homes. And I think it was probably even an old book like The Magic of Believing by Bristol. I can't remember his first name. But all of that, you know, the Think and Grow Rich, the Napoleon Hill, like all of those just, you know, old, you know, God, like the forerunners of all of this kind of stuff. And it was something about that too. When you want to be successful, or, you know, you want to live in $1 million home, we'll go where the $1 million homes are. So, you know, I would go walk around this one neighborhood or drive around that neighborhood. And I'm doing it again, you know, even though we're under this kind of lockdown thing, I've been, you know, I still take like a little drive around, you know, the neighborhood, and I look at, you know, all these fabulous homes and stuff like that. And then the next thing you know, when I was doing some caregiving work, I met through a referral from a girl, this woman who's lives on this just amazing canal. And next thing you know, I had 3 of them in a row that live in these $1 million homes on a canal that's over by, they all work for the hospital. And I mean, like, amazing. And then they were leaving me a wellness gift basket. I had a whole suite in their house where I would stay, and I watch they have 2 golden retrievers that are just amazing. And I love them. And I also found the power in that of communicating with our animals, because I do believe, and like your story, Suzanne, was so amazing. Like, I know I can feel that with you, with the dog, when you're having your thing and then the dog starts licking your face and all of that. It's like I am like totally in this like telepathy with these 2 golden retrievers. I mean, I spent a couple of Christmases actually at their house by myself, and I was completely fine. Completely not lonesome, not worried about the kids and the Home Alone Christmas or any of that stuff. I was having so much fun with Doug and Lola. That's their names. They are like so amazing. But anyway, she leaves me this gift basket of all kinds of like toiletries and stuff, and, you know, just beautiful towels, and, you know, it's Egyptian cotton linens and all this stuff. And they pay me to stay there. I mean, it's amazing. Amazing. In fact, I was supposed to be right tonight. I was supposed to be at the next door neighbor's house sitting, but then they had to cancel their trip. But, and that's for little Chloe. You know, and they all have these like funny names. It's hilarious. And Chloe is, I always call her Chloe the Wonder Dog. She's a little, Shih Tzu, and I have to like practically carry her everywhere because she can't get up on the sofa and she can't get up on the bed. And she wants to be everywhere with me. I mean, even in the restroom, for goodness sake. She follows me everywhere. It is so funny. And Doug and Lola, the same thing. And they are like an old married couple, the golden retrievers. And that's part of my new dreamscape, is that I really want to have golden retrievers again. I had them when I was younger, and I'd really love to have, you know, when I have my mansion and everything, have golden retrievers, because they're just the best dogs. Oh, the best. And I feel so protected. I sleep so good when I'm at their house. I mean, one sleeps on one side and the other one sleeps on the other. And I always laugh when I take them out for walks, and we take long walks because I just enjoy them so much. And, you know, and I'm appreciating everything. Like, I'm doing it and not even knowing I'm doing it, because I'm just like so loving the neighborhood that they live in, and then looking at this big lake that they live on and stuff like that. And, you know, and I'm walking down the road, their pathway there, or the sidewalk, and then, you know, Doug will stand there and wait for Lola to do her thing. And then, you know, and then she like does her thing, like, you know, and then he goes and does his thing. Like, it's so funny. Like, they're like a married couple, and he's like a gentleman. They walk together. I mean, they are just the sweetest, most adorable thing. And we are just like in our own little world. It's just fabulous. And like I said, I've stayed there 2 Christmases, and, you know, the neighborhood was really quiet. A lot of people were away and stuff, but it was like, it was okay. Like, we were just doing our thing. So, and like my cat, even, you know, he spends a lot more time with me now, that I can tell that my vibration is getting like higher and higher and higher. And Beloved, I'm sorry that she got off of our call, but I know that she actually had a client overseas to talk to. So, but, you know, she said to me, she said, no, your cat is healing you. I mean, that's what that is. And he does. He'll put his little paw up on my side, and, you know, I know he's like, think I'm getting like energy transmitted, you know, so it's really pretty cool. And just don't second guess anything. You know, I don't second guess anything anymore. I used to be great at all that, trying to figure out, and what does this one mean? And what does that mean? And what's that sign mean? And is that a sign? And what does that person mean by that? And what, you know, oh, they looked at me cross-eyed. What does that mean? Like, you know, none of that matters. I don't focus on any of it anymore. I just do my thing. It's none of my business what people think. It really isn't. So.
Mark was wondering if we should take a picture of everybody.
I'm asking, do you know how to?
Oh, he's asking me if I know how to.
I don't, so don't ask me. Somebody's sending me a message.
Lori's our usual picture taker, and she's not here at the moment. So, anywho, yeah, so I don't know that it's, I think the pictures will all be contained there in the video and all. So I don't know that it's essential, unless you would like me to try, Nancy. If you would like me to try my hand at it, I will be happy to. Okay. Okay. So I think I might know how. I think it's this little thing right here. And this, wait a minute, where'd it go?
Hi, Mark. I see you back there.
He's crept
Trying
up
to
here.
get a picture.
So okay, so if everybody will look at their camera, as Dory says, and I'll just take us a picture. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. There we go. I got it. I think we got it. Yeah. Got a couple.
Yay!
Yay.
Another thing.
I have to say, Karen, I am very excited to actually see you in person.
Oh, who said that?
Debbie Green.
Oh, Debbie! Hi, Debbie. Oh my
gosh. So excited to see you in real life.
Well, likewise, my dear. Likewise, I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
Yes, I'm glad you joined us. Bless your heart. I'm so glad. Join us again, because we do this every Friday night.
I had no idea. And I got a message today and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to be there. Okay. Yay.
I'm
going to mute myself now, but I'm really excited to see you in person.
Thank you. Same to you, my dear. We're so glad you guys joined us.
Jim was kind enough to send me a message that the book I was referring to is called The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. And that's one of the, you know, like I said, kind of the forerunner. Like I used to listen to a lot of that, you know, Napoleon Hill, Claude Bristol, even, what was it? The, Norman Vincent Peale, you know, positive thinking, or what was it called?
Power of
Positive Thinking. There's another one that, where was it? Zig Ziglar had a lot of great tapes. I was also in sales too for a while. So, you know, all that kind of stuff, it just keeps you, you know, I absolutely love, and you don't hear enough about, and I swear I am going to write to his son, and I know that he will answer. And that is Og Mandino. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him, but Og Mandino was just amazing and touched my heart. So like he was writing to me during that time. It was amazing. Yes. And that was what the secrets, or what was his book?
Shoot, I think I've got it downstairs.
Greatest sales? No,
something about salesmen.
Right.
Let me look it up too. But anyway, the greatest salesman in the world. That was it. I mean, the greatest salesman in the world. And then there's a whole series actually that he expanded from that. But his whole thing, I mean, it's all the same. It's really all the same story. It's all the same as Abraham work. You know, so are all the 12-step programs and all that too. I work with a lot of folks in recovery and addiction and stuff. And, you know, everybody was out looking outside of themselves, you know, and including my 2 exes, you know, were looking outside of themselves. And, you know, it's all there. It's all in here. It's all in here, and it's your connection. In fact, I remember when I was trying to figure that whole thing out in the early years, when Abe had the targeted topics. One of them was addiction. And, you know, somebody called in, or I don't know, was probably in the audience or whatever, and said, well, what do I do about this person that's addicted? Like, I can't get them to stop. And no, you can't get anybody to stop doing anything. I mean, we have no control over anybody else. But she said, just love them, love them, love them, love them, you know, until they finally, you know, love themselves and connect and do they're trying so hard to connect that that's the only way that they know how, so that they can get themselves out of the way. You know, so
And we've had the recording going for an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay.
So can you give somewhere like a 5, and if it takes 10, fine, 5 or 10 minutes summary, so we can keep the recording less than 2 hours. And after we stop the recording, everybody can stay on and we can chat some more, but there's just need to have the recording stop sometime within the next 5 or 10 minutes. So Nancy, make sure we have some sort of summary or review or whatever you think.
Put me on the spot. Just pardon me.
And your contact info too.
Yes, you can reach me at www.coachnancydrew.com, coachnancydrew.com. And really, the law of attraction is always working. Whether you think it is or not, it is working. And just always be mindful of that. They used to talk more about being like targeted on your creations. Now it's more the allowing. Just allow, just get where, if it's meditation, taking a nap, laying at the beach, or watching The Good Doctor, just chill. And that's what I mean about the get out of your own way. However you connect to, if it's just sitting in nature, let go of the oars, go downstream. You can physically feel it when you're when you're going upstream. If you can feel it in your chakras, your stomach, whatever for me, it's always the stomach. I know, it's like walking into a room. If there's somebody that you know that you have funky vibration or whatever, you'll feel it. I do anyway. Sometimes I've since a child, I've had an awareness of certain people I just didn't like, and I never knew why, but, maybe as I got to know them as an adult, yeah, I knew why. Children and animals definitely have that sense. Especially I notice when I'm walking the dogs, when I'm house or pet sitting and stuff, that, if a dog is very aggravated by a certain person, that means that, not necessarily danger, but it means that there's something with their vibration. I used to take care of a couple little toddlers, a 2- and 3-year-old, and the 2-year-old was not even really, she didn't have her, which is odd, she didn't speak well yet, but there was a neighbor that she just couldn't, she would always like freak the heck out when we'd be walking down the street, or sometimes I'd be, wheeling them in their little Jeep, and like she would just flip the heck out if this lady came out of her house. And I mean, I didn't know of anything, but I believed the warning. I believed it. Or I believe that was true. In fact, my Friday kids, I had for a couple of years, I never wanted to give these kids up because they were such pure positive energy. And it was not about the money for me. It was about pure joy and connecting with these kids. They were, 2 and under 2 and 4 when I met them. And now they are 4 and 6. But I would hang out with them. Well, I got paid too, but I mean, I would babysit for them every Friday afternoon. And I would it got to the point that when I would pick the older one up from his school, I would say, okay, which way should we go? Like this way or this way? And he'd say, okay, go that way. And then we would just take a drive, and I would just go for it. I just trusted his intuition. And, maybe we'd see some beautiful leaves on a tree, or a pretty plant, or somebody had a house decorated, something, or they saw a bird, or we'd find a park or whatever. So that's the getting out of your own way. Just allowing, just allowing. That was the original second law, the law of allowing. Just allow it to happen. Let it go. Let it be. It will happen.
and you're living it.
Yep, I
Ain't it?
am. I have a peace and contentment today that I don't know that I ever had, to be honest with you. I'm like excited for every day, now.
Definitely shows.
Thanks.
It does. You just radiate that. Yes.
Oh, another thing too that I love is music too, which I never was like, musically inclined. I've always liked music and stuff, but and I know like when I was going through times when I was creating by default and stuff, I would take drives and listen to certain bands and stuff, different things. And like one day I was on my way to Karen and Mark's for a meeting, and I caught this show on PBS, and it was Carlos Santana. And you guys remember, I mean, I flew to their house. I mean, I was on the most high flying disc. I swore there were a couple people sitting there thinking, what is she on? But I really got into, I just was mesmerized by watching this. And now I'm like probably an hour late to their meeting, but I was so mesmerized and so into that show. And listening to him and his wife, actually, they're very spiritually inclined, and they were showing different clips of his some of his concerts. And I mean, you see him, he's not even there. He's playing, but he's not even there. And the music is just coming. And actually, I'm getting chills again. Every single member of his band, they're playing the drums and they are just into it. I mean, they are just, and you can tell it's just all coming. There's nobody reading music or doing anything. I mean, sure, they've had some of the same songs for many years, but they are just so into it. It is like, it's its own spiritual experience, really and truly. And I know, Kevin, you had a video that you posted, and I was in my car, and I pulled over, and I ended up listening to the whole darn thing, and then I took a screenshot so that I could listen some more of their music. And like you can see, they are off. They're not even there. Their bodies are on that stage, and they're playing the instruments, but they are elsewhere.
I mean,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's how to align.
I'm going to have to stop the recording. Everybody
Sure.
can, please do stay. But I think first of all, if we can just maybe unmute and thank Nancy for raising our vibration and making us feel so good and giving us some tools to play with our own lives.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much fun.
So much
Thanks.
fun.
All right.
Wow, that did go by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.